Hey everybody, this is Ashley with Publish with Ashley, and I'm back here on another live on Wednesday, and we're going to be talking about my top 6. There's probably actually more than 6 in there, but my top 6 tips for ads. Ads are they're a huge subject, but I wanted to give you some tips and tricks and maybe to decide if you're ready for ads yet, if you want to start doing that, because I had a lot of people ask me about ads and tips for ads. I do have an ads course on my website. If you check it out in the show notes, publishwithashley.podia.com, and it's /ads, but it should be like one of the first things on my webpage if you just go to publishwithashley.podia.com. Okay, so my top tips for ads, right? I know everyone wants to know ads, and that's what we're going to talk about. So this is a live video, so I'm going to give you the top tips and my suggestions first. Feel free to ask questions, and I will answer them at the end. So those of you who are not watching the live stream but are watching the replay, you can listen to questions and stuff like that, but at least you can get the top tips right away. All right, so my number one tip is be willing to spend some money. Okay, you have to be willing to spend the money and lose it, because I don't want to say ads are a gamble, because they are. It's about numbers and stats and statistics and finding things out and trying and testing and experimentation. It's an art and a science. You'll hear me say that in my ads class a lot. There is an art to it, which comes from experience, and there's definitely a science in following the numbers and trying and testing and experimenting. But you have to be willing to spend some money. Now, I don't think you should be crazy and spend loads of money right away. So it's one of the reasons I say, actually, my tip number 4 is in there too. We'll talk about that one, but my tip number 4 is start small, right? So you don't need to spend a whole lot of money to start, but you need to be willing to spend money. And if you're not at that point, that's okay. If you aren't making an income, then maybe ads aren't for you right now, but they can be in the future. Okay, so number 2, understand ads and terminology. Okay, I'm actually going to share my screen and kind of talk through this. Give me a sec to share my screen. This is actually on a account I haven't used in a while, so that I'm not worried. That's why I can do this live, because it doesn't have any info, because I haven't used this account in a while. I have quite a few ads accounts. You can get them in different countries and stuff, but this particular account I haven't used in a while. So you can see, let's talk about all the terminology here. Okay, so some of these are kind of obvious. Spend. Okay, so spend is just how much you've spent on ads, how much, and this is set to lifetime. So just so you can see down here, the date range, you can change this to different things. I just have it at lifetime. That's why there's no graph. There's no graph showing up because, like I said, this account hasn't been used in a while. But I've just set it to lifetime just so you can kind of see. I have spent, this is just one of my accounts. I've spent almost $3,000 on this account over, I think it's like 3 or 4 years. So I'm not talking to $3,000 a month or anything like that. You don't want to start that high. You want to start small. Okay, so let's talk about spend. Spend is just how much you spent. It's kind of what it sounds like. Impressions. So you can actually look at every single one of these little eyes, but impressions are the number of times it shows up on the search results. Either, when you type in a keyword and it shows up in the search and it has sponsored next to it on the Amazon page, or on a product page. Any of those are an impression. And there's several places on a product page where your ad can show up. And I think some are better than others. And we'll kind of talk a little bit about that, but later. So impressions are just how many times it shows up. Now, it doesn't mean it's an opportunity for the customer to see your product, okay? It's not necessarily they clicked on it, and honestly, they may not even have seen it, right? It just depends if they scrolled to the part of the page, or they looked, at your ad. But it's the opportunity for it to be seen. You don't pay for impressions, you only pay for clicks. So this is what clicks are. Clicks are when somebody actually clicks on your ad, and that's the only time you get charged. Okay, so when someone clicks on your ad, you get charged based upon the amount of bid. So let's talk about bids. You can bid. There's lots of different bidding strategies, up, down, and that sort of thing. But you put in, you know, like 10 cents per bid or 20 cents per bid or whatever it is. And then depending on if you pick down only or down and up, each time a keyword gets put in, Amazon does an auction, and they look at all the people who are bidding on that keyword or product or whatever it is, and they will pick kind of the highest bidder, or it's kind of like that, the highest bidder, the one that they think that has a high bid that it will convert to a sale, because they do take relevancy into account. So let's say you're putting camping as a keyword, but technically this has nothing to do with camping. They may not think that's a relevant keyword, so you might not win the bid. And honestly, why would you want to win the bid? Hey, everybody who's showing up live, thanks for being here. All right, so that's what a click is, okay? And you get clicks, or I was talking about auctioning. Anyway, so click is when actually you get paid for that. Okay, so, or you have to actually pay when someone clicks on it. Okay, so ACoS. Let's talk about ACoS. ACoS is, and I wrote it down because math in public, I love math, but sometimes I forget what I'm trying to say while I'm talking to you guys. So I wrote it down. ACoS is spend over sales. And you can actually just click on this little icon and it tells you. So it's your spend, the amount you spent, this number, by sales. So if I divide this by this, I get this. Now, technically, when you divide that, you get 0.1821. But to get percents, remember 0.18 times 100 is 18%. That's how percents work. But if you get 0.18, that's 18%. Okay, so that's what your ACoS is. Everyone, I love people, they want to know ads and they want to understand ads, but you've got to understand the math and the numbers behind it. I know people don't like math, but guess what? Do you want to make money or lose money? If you don't understand basic math, we're talking just division here of two numbers, then you're never going to make money on ads because you don't know what you're aiming at. I saw someone who said they had an 8% ACoS, and they're like, is that good? Well, maybe. It depends upon, generally I would say yes. So let's talk about what is a good ACoS and what I call the break-even ACoS. Okay, so you need to understand what your break-even ACoS is. Okay, so break-even ACoS is your royalty over the price. So if your royalty on a $6.99 book is about $2, it's usually about $2.04, but let's just say $2. So $2 is your royalty, $2 divided by your price, $6.99, and that would be your break-even ACoS. I think that translates around to 28% or something. So if you are making money if your ACoS is lower than 28%. Okay, so that's what that means, and that you have to understand your break-even ACoS. Okay, so it's super, super important. I know people don't like math, but you have to get that. Okay, otherwise you have no business in ads. Just stop, because you're just going to do things you don't understand, and you don't know if you're succeeding or not. Okay, so the one thing I have to say: automatic ads, product ads, any kinds of ads you run, understand your break-even ACoS. Okay, that's the number one thing. If you're not willing to do that, don't do ads. You're just going to lose money. You're going to be throwing money that you don't understand at things. Okay, sales are exactly what they sound. So sales are the amount of sales you get per the price of the book. So if I sold 3 $7 books, my sales would be 27. So sales are not your royalty. It's not the amount you made. It is the amount of sales you made. So, that's very important, a distinguishing thing. So I wanted to show you something. You can add different things up here, and there's another one I want to talk about. So if I clicked X that out and I add a metric, you can add different things. It just wasn't big enough for me to add all these things to talk about them. The other one I want to talk about that's kind of important is orders. Orders is not the number of sales of your book you made, it's the amount of orders, which there's a slight distinction. So if someone orders 2 books on one order, right, they decide they like your book and order 2 of them, your order will only show 1 order, but your sales, if it was a $7 book, would be 14. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So it can say a different number of orders than the amount of sales. The other thing to note is that sometimes Amazon puts your book on sale. And so let's say your $7.99 book, they put it on sale for $4.99. Okay, that's fine. Don't freak out about that because you still get your same royalty. Okay, you still get your same royalty. So it's just enticing more people to buy. So it's a good thing for you. Really, it's a good thing. So your sales might not necessarily, if you just do the number like orders and you try and get the right sales number by actually doing some math, it may or may not work because you don't know if Amazon did a sale. I had one that they were selling my book for some reason at $4.12. I have no idea why it was $4.12, but that made my sales number all kind of crazy. So that's why I don't actually pay attention to the sales so much. I am more concerned with my my ACoS, because I know what my break-even ACoS is, my clicks, and my impressions. So one thing I want to share about impressions, if you kind of watch your impressions and you notice on a specific ad, the impressions are not going up, that means you need to probably stop that ad and copy that ad and refresh it, because sometimes ads just go stale. So if you find that your impressions aren't going up at all, or they're going up 1, 2, 3, they're just not increasing, you might want to stop that ad and then you can copy it and then restart that same ad. And sometimes that will just make it work. Okay, so those are kind of the terminology. So that was tip number 2. Sorry, that was a long explanation, but you really need to understand all these terms so that you can, really do well. But break-even ACoS, the one thing you walk away with is understanding what break-even ACoS is and what yours, you have to calculate it, remember, based on your royalty and your book price. Then, I will feel that you at least have a basic on ads. Okay, you at least know if you're making money or losing money. Okay. Now there's different strategies around that, but I'm not going to talk about those strategies, at least at this moment. That's like another whole conversation, but you've got to understand that. Okay. So my tip number 3 is understand your target market. I even just did a YouTube video about understanding your target market. I have a free download. If you want to look at my website, Publish with Ashley, it's under the freebies. There's a target market worksheet you can fill out. But watch that YouTube video because it's kind of a cool way to look at your target market through Facebook, and so you can get more information about them. But yes, I know you're thinking, oh, but I'm going to do an automatic ad. I don't need to understand my target market. Can't talk today. But you do. Even if you did a automatic ad, you need to understand your target market, because if you don't understand your target market, remember the automatic ad uses your title, subtitle, and keywords and prior sales. Okay, so it's sales history to determine who to show it to for your automatic ad. It tests a little bit, but it does use that. Okay. So if you didn't understand your target market, and you didn't exactly put in the right keywords, and you didn't use the right optimized subtitle, then guess what? It's not going to work. But okay, here's another example. Let's say you didn't, it was one of your beginning books and it gets organic sales, but you think, gosh, I really, really could bump up or redo some better keywords for this particular, like it's not the most optimized title. So I have a few books that when I first began, the title wasn't optimized, but I can't change the title now. It's not something I can change, and it sells well. So what I've done is I actually went in and created a manual ad, and I targeted specific keywords and phrases that are based upon maybe updated or more relevant, or even that I understand my target market better. I've added in those words to advertise too. So you can do, even if you want to do an automatic ad on it, a manual ad, you can add maybe something that you didn't optimize previously. So if you understand your target market, you can go back and fix a book that sells, well organically. You can make it sell even better by making your ads manual and focusing on specific, a better title or better keywords or better towards your market. Okay. Number 4, start small. Okay. Don't be bidding 25 cents until you know what you're doing. I'm not a huge 25-cent bidder. I tend to be on the 10 to 20, is, yeah, usually my max. I've done a few 25s, but those are very select and it's generally towards Christmas. So you want to start small, bid small things. I know you're not going to get a lot of impressions, but as you get impressions, as you do stuff, you can start, changing up and changing your ad and your bid price, because it's kind of, it's a gamble and it's an art and a science, right? So it's a gamble in the sense you don't know exactly what's going to work. So don't spend a lot of money and not use it, or not use the data you're collecting. So you want to start very small bids. And as you go, you can, bid more or get more risky. Now, the other thing I would also suggest is your book needs to be at least $6.99 to advertise. If you're a newbie. Now, if you have a whole strategy, you've done this in the past, and you have some sort of launch strategy, you're going to launch it at $4.99 and you have a whole strategy planned out, fine. But you're probably not the person listening to this video. If you know what you're doing, you really don't need this video. But if you're just starting out, $6.99, I would say, is your minimum price. Make sure your book is priced high enough that you have enough profit margin, like about $2, to be able to actually bid. I would suggest starting on things that sell organically, because you already know you have something right with that ad. And still start small. And maybe even if it's selling organically, try and bump up the price a little bit. And don't be afraid to bump up the price a little bit. I wouldn't add $5 to your price, but if you're adding just a few dollars or $1.50, that's fine. But try and get your price to the right point and start small. Okay, so number 5 is try auto ads and manual ads. I mean, I know everybody loves automatic ads because they're easy, but they are not necessarily the most effective nor the best return on your investment. If you've done all the things, your research, your target market, manual ads are a fantastic way to target authors, people in your genre, brand names, because you can't put brand names, you can't put Marvel Comics into your book, but or keywords, but you can in an ad. You can use branded terms in an ad. You can use authors, like all of that will go through. Just make sure it's relevant, right? If you have nothing to do with Marvel Comics, like you did, okay, so you did a blank comic book, right? One of those blank comic books. Yeah, people who read comics might be interested in creating their own comics. So your ad could target Marvel comic readers, right? But you can't do that in your keywords for the blank comic book, but you can in an ad. So try manual ads and manual ads, you can do product or keyword, and try both, right? So if I have a really good selling book, I tend to have 3 ads. I have a manual, or 2 manual, a product and a keyword, and then I also have an automatic. And then I fiddle with them and see which ones do the best. Sometimes the automatic ad does do the best, but other times that my keywords do better. Actually, generally my keywords do better because I have it more focused. But occasionally the automatic ad does work better for whatever reason. Okay, so that's kind of on that. Number 6, and this is the last one, test and measure. Okay, advertising, any advertising course you ever have is all about testing and measuring. Okay, so you want to put stuff out there, see how it goes for a week or so, and then you want to check in daily just to make sure that nothing's going crazy. But generally, if you're bidding low and starting small, things don't bid really fast because you're starting small. But you want to check in daily just to see how they're doing, and just to see if there's no impressions, like say you put something out there and like 4 days later there's no impressions whatsoever. Yeah, you're going to probably want to bump up your bid price or change your keywords. Maybe you're totally off on your keywords and Amazon says, I don't think so. These keywords do not match anything having to do with your product. Remember, Amazon does test relevancy. So it looks back at the keywords you've put in, and if your keywords you're putting in don't match at all, like they're going to be like, something's wrong here, and not show your ad because it won't convert to a sale, and Amazon's all about sales, right? Okay, so you want to check in daily, and you want to, when you change anything, do small changes. If you do any big or wide changes, wild changes, you're going to either, it kind of freaks the algorithm out. It doesn't know exactly what to do. And so it kind of like stalls or something. It just doesn't work. So whenever you're going to change anything, just change one thing at a time, change small things. And I don't mean like change, you can go in and change, like if you're on manual keywords and you have bids for each keyword, you can change several keywords at one time as far as the bid amount, but don't go from like 40 cents to like 10 cents, and don't go from 10 cents to 40 cents because it'll kind of freak out the thing. But if you kind of go from 10 cents and you decide to bump them all up to 15 cents, that's fine. That's what it's meant to do. So you want to always change just one thing at a time, just so you know what's working, right? If you go through and change every single keyword on your ad, then yet again, the algorithm gets confused, and if it might crash or it might not work. You just don't know what's going on. So be very strategic as you change things. And if you want to do something kind of different, start a new ad. Don't screw up, this other ad, just start another ad. Okay. So one thing I wanted to also is to tell you that advertising is hard. Okay. It can be easy. You can just run automatic ads and all that. But yet again, you still have to watch them and do stuff. Make sure you're spending the right amount of money, and you can do it the easy way, and that's fine, but you are going to spend a little bit more money. But ads are not as clear cut as you want them to be. So I looked up a statistic. In the US per month, 250 billion. Yes, $250 billion per month are spent on advertising in the US. Okay, that is a lot of money. Okay, and you're advertised to all the time, right? Not all advertising works well. I mean, have you ever seen, a commercial or a movie or a commercial, I guess, and it like either strikes you right or wrong, right? Sometimes you're like, I don't get it. I saw some car commercial and I didn't know it was about a car until the very end. And I was just confused as to this whole advertisement. So sometimes you have this idea or plan in your head and it doesn't hit your market like you want it to. And so advertisers spend a whole lot of money, and some is successful and some isn't. So that's what I kind of wanted to share you, that there's $250 billion a month spent in the US in advertising, okay? And these are great people who do this professionally all day long. And they still, they kind of know what they're doing, but they may not do it right all the time, every time, the first time. So you as a beginner, take that to heart in the sense of you can start small, you can learn, and you can grow. Okay, so that's all my tips. Sorry, hopefully that wasn't too bad. Okay, wow, that was really long for my tips. Okay, what now is the best niche? Any niche, honestly. I wouldn't do Christmas stuff. I hate the question, what's the best niche? Because all you're asking me is like, what do I sell in? Well, I can tell you, but that doesn't mean you have any of the background knowledge. Like I said, I do kids, I do advertising, or not advertising, I do like outdoors, camping, all that sort of stuff. And they work great for me, but that niche may not work for you at all. You may not know anything about it. You may not like kids. I've seen a lot of people who aim at kids stuff and they have no idea like colors. Kids love rainbow colors, bright colors. And I've seen covers and they were like dull and boring and black. And I'm like, what kid would want this coloring book? It's like awful. So if you don't know the niche you're doing, it's fine. You're not going to succeed. So I like kids stuff. I'm working on this whole series of kids books. I'm creating a new brand. I've got, it's wild. It's a totally crazy idea. So I'm not going to say it's a great niche yet, but I know it's doing really well on Etsy in the kids section. So I'm hoping, since I don't see very much of it on Amazon, that I can translate, and it's going to take me some work to translate it from kind of the Etsy world to Amazon and making it, KDP viable. And it's not easy to do. So I think it's a great idea, but I see it selling on Etsy, so I know its potential is on Amazon. So that's an idea for you. So it's not necessarily what's niches, but see things that are selling in other places like Etsy and look and see if there's something like that on Amazon if you're really struggling. So kind of just, type in a word on Etsy and see, who has the most reviews in something you're interested in. I always start with something like kids printables or kids toys or kids, just various things. And then I kind of look through and get ideas. And then I go, oh, I think that's selling really well. That's an idea. How could I make that a product on Amazon? And then I kind of search for that in Amazon. And so the one I'm working on now, there's really not much out there on Amazon. And I think it's a great niche. It's following the whole kids trends with, activity books and things like that, but it's not an activity book exactly. Anyway, so, that's my advice. Don't try and copy other people's niches because it's not a very successful method. And you don't know exactly what advertisement they've done on the back end. They might have their own dedicated Facebook group, and that's why it's selling so well. Okay. Aline, a little off topic. When looking at a KDP report page, is there any way to see what sold without going through all the authors? Okay, so one of the ways I like to look and see what is sold for the month is to go on your reports page and then go to month to date. There's so reports page, and then there's some tabs right above the graph the graph, and it says month to date, and I click on that and it automatically goes to ebooks, and you'll have to click the drop down and it says paperback. And then it shows me everything that is sold by title in alphabetical order. So I like that because I can kind of see if something new has sold. So I'll check that every few days or something. And honestly, I do this kind of by memory. I go, oh yeah, that hasn't sold in a while. I got 10 sales on a book yesterday that hasn't sold in months. And I was like, wow, that was kind of cool. So you kind of know what ones are your sellers. And so I kind of go, okay, that's been selling. Oh, that's new. Is it perfect? No, but I'm not really fond of any of the other tools like Book Report or any of that. I'm just not fond of them. So I know you could pay and do them, but for me, my kind of, okay, these are selling, this is selling. Okay. And then I just kind of take notes and decide what I should make more of. That works for me, but that may or may not work for you. But that month to date tab is cool. A lot of people don't see it because it's kind of awkward to find. I'm halfway through your ad training. I was afraid to run ads, but I learned it says Facebook user. Sorry, I don't know who that is. I love the training. I may have missed this question. How long do you wait to run an ad on a new book once it's live? It depends. Okay, so I know in the training I've said this, and I've said this on my YouTube channel a lot, is I will run an ad on a new book. Okay, and how long do I wait? I generally wait until the look inside feature shows up. So that can be a few days, and I know maybe it's hard to wait a few days, but I do wait at least till then. And I don't run ads on all my new books, but I do run ads on ones that I think will do well based upon either past experience or I have an idea in my head of who I wanted to market it to. The ones I'm doing right now that I'm creating, it's going to take me a while. They're not easy to create. And I am not the fastest. I don't do this 12 hours a day. I do it 2 if I'm lucky, because I have 4 kids. So it's going to take me a while to get done. But I'm planning on marketing it to that whole creative play, scissor skills, all that sort of stuff. It's not exactly that, but I don't think my keywords and my title are going to get people to find me. So what I have to do to sell that one is I have to look at products that a similar customer would purchase, right? It's all about your target market. So when I created this book, I have a target market in mind, but I know my keywords people aren't searching for this book on KDP yet. Okay, they just aren't. So I have to sell it to a particular market who are already buying similar products, but it's not the same, but it's the same type of product in the sense that the best thing I can always go back to is camping, right? So if you're selling a camping book, or okay, say someone wanted to buy a camping, like a lantern, a camping lantern, they may want to buy a camping memory book, right? So I'm selling it to somebody interested in camping products. Okay, so that's kind of similar to what I want to do with this. Hopefully that answered, it's probably more than answering your question. Is it better to stay with a few author names? Oh, gal, I have hundreds. I think, yes, it is better to have brands, but if you want to try something off brand, make up a new author name. The disadvantage with that is I am now to the point where I have like two brands, and then a third one that I'm going to add on and do a website for. It becomes like a lot to manage, right? Different websites, all these other things. It's a lot. So in the beginning, yeah, maybe try lots of different author names, try it all out, and then figure out what works for you, and then focus down a little bit. But you do want your products under an author name to be cohesive, in the sense that you don't want to put your kids' books with a bunch of adult books, right? Like like coloring would be fine. So let's say you have kids coloring and adult coloring, all that. And as long as it's not swear word coloring, right? If it's clean coloring, you don't want a parent looking at the kid book and then it's right next to this adult swear word coloring book. It might not send the right message. But if you had clean parent coloring books, that would be fine, because maybe a parent has a kid who's a little bit more advanced in coloring. Like I have one daughter who's excellent at coloring, right? So she might want a more advanced coloring book, and that's fine because it's still in the same kind of, cohesive thing. But yeah, I would niche down and create different author names. But if you get too many, it becomes a little bit unwieldy. I'm kind of regretting my 3, but I'm always trying to push my boundaries. So yeah, I have a ton of other author names, but I'm focusing right now on 3. And then I throw, like I said, I'll try something just because I wanted to, and I'll make a new author name up. But it's more of an experiment than an actual that I feel I'm going to do better or do well in it. Let's see. Okay. Paul says, hello. Hello, Paul. And I think that's all the questions. Does anyone else have questions? Hey to, I think it was Annika and MD and some other Facebook users, but I can't tell what your names are. Anyone else have questions? I do have an ads course. So if you want to know more about ads, I will do another generalized ads talk. Oh, like I don't have to share my screen anymore. Sorry, I forget that I'm sharing my screen. I will do some more generalized stuff about ads and different things, but that's why I have the ads course, because I literally take you through my ads back end. But it's not something you can do live, and it's very time consuming and very hard to like blur everything out. So you're not like, oh, look. But yet again, even if you saw some of my titles and niches, I kind of worry less, because I've seen people copy my stuff and it's like not good. Like their copies are poor because they don't understand the target market. I think this is a business and you should treat it as such. And if you're going to sell stuff to people, you should sell them something they want. There's that discussion of, what does the market want and what does it need? Well, it might need something, but it's going to buy what it wants. And I kind of read this in another Facebook group. It was about fiction authors. They were talking about, should I, write what I love, or should I write to market? And the ones making money are writing to market, right? So it's not, yes, you can put your wonderful product out into the world, and it might be your love and your piece of art, but don't expect that other people respect it as much as you do, because people want what they want and they'll buy what they want. And they will buy what they need if they have like a problem. So if you're focused on solving people's problems, yeah, then they'll buy what they need to solve their problem. They want that problem solved right at that point in time. So that is a way to also, market to people. Okay. KDP isn't great for looking at sales past 90 days. Yeah, the best way then is download your reports and then into Excel and then filter them yourselves. So what I will do is I will filter by author name, and that way the Excel file, I don't know if you know how to filter in Excel. If not, you can Google it, and I'm sure somebody will show you how to filter, but it's pretty easy. It's like this little funky filter, and you click on the column that you want to filter. I usually filter by author name, and I click the filter button, and then that way I can look. Book report, and there was another one, get something, or some paid versions. But okay, here's another thing I also do. I actually will also take screenshots of my bestseller on the KDP, the pretty thing. And I will see what, it's not perfect, but it does tell me what starts to sell when. It's nice to kind of look back and see when stuff starts to pick up in December. So I just do some screenshots at the end of the month to kind of capture kind of an overall view. I know it's not perfect, but I still make money, and I do it imperfectly. So there are ways. I tried your method, and it's only the previous month, but it's better. Yeah, so that does only show you 1 month, but you could take a screenshot of that, right? And that way you could have that month look and have a screenshot of all the different books that have been selling. And hopefully that's helpful. Any other questions? I still have 11 of you on here. I guess here's my pitch: like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm so excited. I'm over 1,000 and subscribers. So thank you so much for subscribing. YouTube sent me a little GIF that I can say I have 1,000 subscribers, but I haven't figured out how to download it and share it yet. That's really sad, isn't it? I haven't figured out how to do that. But I was doing it on my mobile device, so maybe that's why I could figure it out. So I'll try on my desktop. But thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't, please do hit that bell icon and, like. And those of you on Facebook, comment too. That's great. I love you guys watching on whatever channel you guys like, Facebook or YouTube. If that's it for questions, I think I will go make my kids a peanut butter sandwich and feed the hungry, ravenous little kids. And I will see you next week. Oh, let me see. Here's my list. Okay, so ones I'm going to talk about more things. Oh, 2 things. Tammy, Sharit, I'm not going to say your name, but Tammy from KDP B2B. We did an interview yesterday. It's coming out on my YouTube channel tomorrow at noon. It's really cool. I've been adding this to my KDP business as well, and we'll talk about that. But it's another way to use KDP creatively, and it's a way that if you are interested in getting money right away, it is definitely because you charge businesses a fee. There is a way to monetize your KDP business right away. So be sure to watch that video. It comes out tomorrow. I am going to do another Pinterest video, and on my list is public domain. I know there's a lot of people who want free graphics, and I was looking at a bunch of public domain sites the other day, and I wanted to show you guys some ways you can get some really cool art, and then maybe take it and put it into Canvas, because I've got some cool more tricks and tips on Canva that I've been playing with, because I went to the dark side. I bought Canva Pro because I like all the little things for my YouTube thumbnails. I like adding all the little, rainbows and whatever I add to my thumbnails just to make them a little bit prettier. So I admit I went to the dark side, but I have had fun playing with it. And you can use some of that public domain art in some really fun and creative ways. So I was going to go through public domain. So let me know if you guys have other questions or thoughts, and I will try and research or show you where you can find it, or if I know how to do it, I'll show you how to do it. All right. Thanks so much. I will talk to you later. Bye.